All right, good afternoon from the Broward County Jail. I'm your South Florida lawyer, Patrick McGeehan, and I am your best friend at your worst time. Well, this is at least a temporary home of former Broward County Deputy Scot Peterson. Unless you've been hiding under a rock, you know that Deputy Peterson was arrested yesterday on several felony and misdemeanor charges related to his actions, or actually inactions, in the Parkland shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. There's a lot of emotion tied up in this case. There's a lot going on. It's going to be a very high-profile case. There's absolutely media everywhere. They're staked out in front of the entrance to the jail, as well as the Sally Port, and earlier they were following Scot Peterson's attorneys around. Regardless of what you think about the case, here's how I deal with it. My first concern is, when I have a criminal defense client in jail, is getting them out as soon as possible. Deputy Peterson had a bond hearing this morning where the judge continued his bond, or let his bond stay intact at $102,000. He's currently incarcerated at the Broward County Main Jail downtown, Fort Lauderdale. Okay, so at $102,000, what does that mean, and what are my concerns as a criminal defense lawyer? My number one concern is getting my client out of jail as soon as possible. So we have to look at it that way. $102,000 requires him to pay a premium to a bondsman of $10,200. So he has to come up with that money. And that has to be posted, that has to be paid to the bondsman solely for the purpose of posting the bond, and that is the bondsman's fee, which the bondsman keeps. Now, for the $102,000 bond, that has to be collateralized. Usually people do it with equity in a house or other property, jewelry or whatever. So he would have to have $102,000 in equity in his house or some other property which he can temporarily assign to the bondsman to collateralize that $102,000. That's a big chunk. And if you've been following the case, you know he's being sued in several cases by victims of the shooting, the surviving victims of the shooting. So he's got those legal fees to contend with. And then you have his criminal legal fees. It's a big high-profile case. It has the potential to impact the way law enforcement operations are conducted in Florida. So it's going to be a very drawn-out, tooth and nail fight in the case. I would guess that his legal fees are going to be substantial, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for the criminal case. So the way I look at it is, I look in terms of me and you. If me, you, or I were sitting in jail on a $102,000 bond, how would we get out? Do you have the $10,000 to pay the bondsman for the fee? Do you have the assets to collateralize the $102,000 bond? That becomes a question. That's out of the range of most people. That's out of the range of the average person. Even if you have a good paying job, most people are living paycheck to paycheck. Where do you come up with that amount of money to gain your freedom for pretrial release? That's where we're at now. Those are my concerns immediately on the case. As the case progresses along, I'll make other comments regarding to the case. As of just a few minutes ago, the Broward County Sheriff's Office or the clerk of the court had not released the arrest affidavit. So I don't know what facts or what allegations the authorities are making and related to the criminal charges. But if I get those, I'll be sure to share them with you. But hey, it's a beautiful day here in Fort Lauderdale. It's the life of a Miami lawyer. I lawyer in paradise, and this is absolute paradise.